Critical to Knots is the issue of identity. Other parks have geared their marketing to instant recognition. Disneyland has the mouse. At Universal, you ride the movies. SeaWorld is Jumping Fish. And Magic Mountain is Roller Coaster Valhalla. By the dawn of the 1990s, roller coasters were becoming bigger and faster at a rate that had never been seen before. Cedar Point's Magnum XL 200 changed the game when it topped the 200-foot mark in 1989. Ron Toomer of Aerodynamics said, "The coaster building boom has spawned a giant marketing competition. To attract more guests, parks need a ride that's either bigger or totally different than anyone else's." Magic Mountain wanted a piece of the action. In November 1989, they unveiled Viper, the world's tallest and fastest looping coaster, standing 188 feet tall, sporting the world's tallest loop at 140 feet, and tying the world record with 7 inversions. At $8 million, it was the largest and most ambitious project in the park's history. The park had realized that this was going to be their niche. Park spokeswoman Courtney Simmons said they constantly polled the audience, and they always say the reason they come out here is for the coasters. 67% of Magic Mountain patrons were aged 24 or under, so that's who the park had to appeal to. Simmons said, "The amusement park is striving to be the coaster capital of the US, and to introduce the best coasters in the marketplace." This also justified the park to remove Condor after just over 1 year of operation to make room for their new massive coaster. Viper was important to keep a step ahead of Knott's Berry Farm for the youth market, since they were also introducing a brand new looping coaster, Boomerang. Despite a February protest over the park's use of non-union labor to build Viper, it opened on schedule, causing an early morning traffic jam near the Magic Mountain Parkway exit on the morning of April 7th. As popular as the ride was, it wasn't without its problems. It was stopped on the mid-course break several times in its opening week, and after the first full week, maintenance found some weak links in the chain lift and decided to replace the whole thing, closing the ride for a week. The kinks were worked out, and Viper was full speed ahead, giving nearly 3 million rides in its first year. The Ace Fall Convention was held at Magic Mountain, with the enthusiasts touting the park's Big Four: Revolution, Colossus, Ninja, and now Viper. Attendance at the nation's theme parks rose just 1.6% in 1989, but among those who added a new coaster, attendance rose 8.5%. Magic Mountain knew this, and they saw their investment pay off by the end of 1990, despite a whole host of factors working against them. Gas prices were higher than normal, an economic recession was on the horizon, and tourism was sluggish. Magic Mountain was one of the few Southern California attractions to post an increase in attendance, up 10% from 1989 by the midsummer. Despite out-of-state tourism being down, Magic Mountain benefited from 80% of their customers being local. Viper was the big draw, but the park wasn't about to be one-dimensional. 1990 also brought in new shows, including one featuring the hot new Fox series, The Simpsons, a show celebrating Bugs Bunny's 50th birthday, and new musical acts, Tommy Page, The Covergirls, and Sweet Sensation, introducing a $3 charge to see these concerts. With more attractions and investments came higher prices in general, with admission hitting $23 for adults in 1990, second to only Disneyland in the region. New coasters meant big money, and Magic Mountain wanted to keep that gravy train rolling along. They had seen how Viper was helping the park thrive, while other parks were suffering in the current economic environment, ending the year up 3%, while Disneyland was down 3%, SeaWorld was down 8%, and Universal Studios was down 9%. Boomerang helped Knott's break even. Magic Mountain didn't want to waste any time introducing the next big thing. In the winter of 1990, work started on a new wooden coaster in the back of the park, on the old plot of Sarajevo bobsleds and Shockwave. This was Cyclone. After introducing the state-of-the-art Viper, this would be a replica of the 64-year-old classic at Coney Island in Brooklyn, New York, the Cyclone. Dubbed as an unnerving, unforgiving, and unforgettable experience, and would feature a 95-foot drop, a top speed of 50 miles per hour, and come with a $5 million price tag. Park President Joseph Shalaki pointed out the number of East Coast transplants in California, and said they may have a history with the Cyclone, and this could draw them into the park to relive memories. The economy wasn't the only concerning factor for Magic Mountain, or theme parks as a whole. In the early days of 1991, America was preparing for war in the Persian Gulf. Officials thought that people would be glued to their TV sets and forgo travel out of fear of terrorism. There was also the possibility of a prolonged war causing fuel shortages that could hurt tourism even more. The war lasted throughout the rest of January and all of February, and Southern California parks did see a small decline in attendance, trying to lure in locals with discount tickets. A ceasefire was declared on February 28th, taking the edge off the most serious terror threats, but the recession remained. Cyclone opened to the public on March 23rd, right on time for spring break, and got rave reviews from former Dodgers Steve Garvey and John Johnstone, calling the ride everything that Coney Island was and more. And the early season opening helped the park post a 24% first quarter increase in attendance from the prior year. But among the fanfare of a brand new hit coaster, rumors started to surface about the financial health of Six Flags, operating 7 parks nationwide. The interest payments on its growing debt started to become a problem. In 1990, Six Flags collected $55 million in profit before interest and taxes, but owed $80.2 million in interest, posting a net loss of $25 million. By the end of 1990, Six Flags' total debt outweighed its total assets. It had a negative net worth of $127 million. The possibility of selling off some parks was also considered. In the end, Time Warner and 2 other investors offered $700 million to acquire Six Flags. Time Warner already owned a 20% stake, and this move increased their ownership to 50%. They saw this opportunity to further promote their properties, namely DC Comics and the Looney Tunes characters. One analyst noted, "There is real appeal in the theme park business. Time Warner could merchandise Bugs Bunny, much like Disney uses Mickey Mouse." In addition to opening a new coaster, Magic Mountain had something for everyone in their 20th anniversary. They continued to book major music acts, including Timmy T, C&C Music Factory, Vanilla Ice, and Marky Mark, also welcoming in the Ninja Turtles, Captain Planet, and a Nintendo competition to entertain the kids. Despite all the factors working against it, all of this investment led Magic Mountain to break about even in attendance by the end of the year, while other parks suffered. Disney CEO Michael Eisner was even on the record calling Disneyland's attendance crummy, posting a 10% decline. But neither Disneyland nor Knott's had a new attraction for 1991. Magic Mountain was going to keep the recipe for success and become the first park in history to open a coaster 3 years in a row, announcing Flashback, an Intamin space diver. This was advertised as a new coaster, but it wasn't. The same ride rotation program that saw the relocation of Sarajevo bobsleds and Shockwave had now brought Magic Mountain their first portable coaster. Flashback was once known as Z-Force, just like their looping ship, and started its life at Six Flags Great America in 1985, before finding a new home at Six Flags Over Georgia in 1988. It would find its final landing place at Magic Mountain for the 1992 season, as Six Flags phased this program out after 1993. Still billed as a new coaster, and with the general public none the wiser, Flashback opened to a great reception in April. The park threw a baby shower for their new coaster, passing out bubblegum cigars and baby bottles full of jelly beans to media members and guests, with park president Joseph Shalaki comparing the opening to a birth in the family. The coaster would take its riders up 86 feet, and then plunge them through 6 steeply banked vertical 180-degree dives, meant to simulate freefall, and then ends with a 540-degree upward helix. It would be located between Mystic Lake and Bugs Bunny World, and would be deemed by one outlet the 8th wonder of the coaster world.
I heard that family togetherness is the new trend for the 90s, so I say to my family, hey, why don't we head down to Orange County to the same place we always go? And they say, oh, Dad, that's so 80s, and the 90s place to go is north of Hollywood on I-5 at Six Flags Magic Mountain, where the whole family can experience 90s-type togetherness on the world's greatest rides, like the new Flashback roller coaster, not to mention water adventures, animal shows, music, food, and fireworks. And suddenly I realized maybe the 90s really are more exciting than the 80s.
Just a month later, during the civil unrest in Los Angeles, following the Rodney King verdict, Magic Mountain was forced to make a decision. Should they close or remain open? Los Angeles sports teams canceled or moved their games, in fear of what would happen when a massive crowd gathered given the tensions in the city. Magic Mountain decided to remain open, drawing criticism from its employees who didn't feel safe, and other citizens thinking the park was more concerned with money than safety. Magic Mountain allowed its employees to stay home without being penalized, and shut the park down early over the weekend to allow guests and employees to get home before curfew. It didn't matter much anyway. Despite being the first weekend in May, the park was a ghost town. A pair of major earthquakes in late June also hurt the appeal of tourists coming to Southern California. And when you add the ongoing recession into the fold, 1992 was shaping up to be a tough year.
Answer the call of the new Batman stunt show at Six Flags Magic Mountain with electrifying stunts, explosive action.
In addition to Flashback, they also debuted the Batman stunt show, Time Warner's first initiative to get their properties into the park, capitalizing on their new film Batman Returns, hitting theaters that summer. This would feature motorcycle and car stunts. The park would also debut Batman Nights, a 15-minute pyrotechnic display that ended with a battle between Batman and the Joker. This was the start of an ongoing trend to theme rides off films, bolstered by Paramount's acquisition of the 5 Kings Entertainment Company parks that same year. And now 13 of the 20 most popular parks in the US and Canada were controlled by Universal, Disney, Paramount, or Time Warner. Despite all the factors working against Magic Mountain, they did enough to attract a large crowd in 1992, ending the year with 3.2 million guests, unchanged from 1991, but 1993 wouldn't be any easier. The year kicked off with the loss of President Joseph Szilaki, who took a job at the top of Petroco in Texas. He was replaced by Del Holland, a 30-year veteran with the company, most recently the president of Six Flags Over Georgia. After years of drought in Southern California, spanning from 1986 through 1992, record-breaking rains pounded the region in January, hurting early season attendance. But Holland was about to be hit with a problem much more serious. On April 17th, the park had a concert featuring TLC and Paperboy. It was such a big draw that the park had to close its gates by the early afternoon. Angry guests stormed down Magic Mountain Parkway and attacked employees and customers at Wendy's and Marie Callender's, robbing the cash registers and smashing windows. Inside the park, at full capacity, the after-hours dance club got too crowded, and the park decided to close it. People outside the club broke down the door and looted the place, along with other locations in the park. Magic Mountain officials canceled the 9 p.m. concert and closed the park early, causing more chaos as security and police tried to get everyone to leave the park. The melee caused an estimated $750,000 in damage. After an all-night effort to repair the damage, the park was open the next day, but now with strict security. But while the park could remove the graffiti, repair broken windows, and replace stolen merchandise, the memories wouldn't disappear that easily. The park had worked hard to repair their image and stem gang violence in the 1980s. And this highly publicized event was not a good look. Some blamed the park for overselling the concert, putting money before safety, and the local businesses were looking to Six Flags to reimburse them for their damages. The park and the county worked together on a plan to prevent a scenario like this in the future, with some even calling for the end of concerts, which had been a staple for the park's entertainment since the beginning. Del Holland issued a full-page public apology to everyone in the community, stating that the park would only book concerts that were appropriate for the entire family, and how this was an isolated incident, the park never having this issue with concerts or large crowds in the past. In the summer, Colossus's trains would bump into each other in the station, sending 9 people to the hospital. This brought back memories of a 1990 incident on Tidal Wave, where boats bumped into each other in the station, injuring 7. Magic Mountain may have been dealt a tough hand, but they had the goods to turn 1993 to their favor. Their big project was a brand new area in the park, designed to resemble Yosemite National Park. This was the High Sierra territory. The standout attraction was Yosemite Sam Sierra Falls, a raft waterslide, but the area would be defined by the world's largest man-made tree, a 360-foot life-size giant sequoia dominating the skyline. There would also be a new show, the very popular Chinese Acrobats, along with a sports festival that included appearances from players from pro LA teams, and the Dennis the Menace screen test, which gave audience members the chance to recreate movie scenes. 1993 would also be the first year of Fright Fest, the park's new Halloween event. In the end, 1993 was a record-breaking year for the park, increasing attendance by 3%, while Knott's and Disneyland saw attendance drop. Time Warner also decided to invest $70 million to buy the other 50% of Six Flags it didn't already own, and they'd make their presence felt at Magic Mountain more than ever before.
This year at Six Flags Magic Mountain, answer the call to Batman the Ride.
In August, the park announced the addition of Batman the Ride for the 1994 season, an inverted coaster by Bolliger and Mabillard. This would be the same exact model that Six Flags had installed at Six Flags Great America in 1992 and Six Flags Great Adventure in 1993, and something similar had landed on the West Coast that same year at Paramount's Great America.
Give me a pen.
You tell we got monitors.
Okay. We're here in the Channel 4 newsroom, as you folks There's no surprise. For any folks this morning, we've been hit with a major earthquake. Right now we're trying to basically gather some more information, trying to figure out where this has been centered.
In the early morning of January 17, 1994, a powerful 6.7 magnitude earthquake shook Southern California. The earthquake claimed the lives of 57 people and caused tens of billions of dollars in damage, including the Newhall Pass that connected the San Fernando Valley, the Antelope Valley, and the Santa Clarita Valley. The closure of this major interchange caused a bottleneck on alternative routes, causing less people to travel over the next several months before it could be repaired. The park reported no visible damage in the aftermath of the quake, but later on would discover problems with Eagle's Flight, opting to permanently close the ride instead of fixing it. Many people also believe the earthquake caused damage to Cyclone, and this made the wooden coaster rougher and aged poorly. Magic Mountain would still have to close the park because their water supply was severed, and wouldn't be able to reopen until February 5th, donating their admission proceeds from that weekend to the American Red Cross. Attendance may have been lighter than normal in those weeks following the park's reopening, but they were gearing up for a huge summer with Batman the Ride, and the opening of the brand new Gotham City area of the park, the largest project in the park's history. The subway and Turbo were renamed Acme Atom Smasher and Gordon Gearworks to fit the theme, while the park had to bid farewell to Z-Force to use its land for the new coaster. The whole area was like entering a new reality, the grimy city of Gotham. Batman's queue was designed to simulate the entrance to Gotham Park, where everything was beautiful. But as you walk deeper into the queue, you run into the Gotham Public Works project, and in order to escape, you need to walk through a giant pipe to get to the Batcave, where you board the coaster. Batman the Ride was a huge hit, as the novelty of going upside down while under the track sparked curiosity of people all over Southern California. Unfortunately for the park, this included gangs. In April, there was a shooting and a stabbing outside the park, and security had to deal with a coordinated gang effort to vandalize and loot the park. Magic Mountain found themselves on the defensive from an anti-gang task force, accusing them of failing to make the park more family-oriented, as they promised after the incident the year prior. The park pointed out their efforts to deny entry to members of gangs on their ban list, increase security inside the park, paying LA County Sheriff's deputies to be stationed at the park on the weekends, and hiring gang experts to screen people at the entrance. The park did reject the idea of installing metal detectors, citing that it would take too much time to get everyone through. By the end of the summer, a story emerged about Six Flags' plans to add a new resort adjacent to Magic Mountain. This was revealed to be Hurricane Harbor, a 22-acre water park with a separate admission price. Six Flags was hoping to make Magic Mountain into a 2-day attraction, and the complex would now be known as Six Flags California. Hurricane Harbor was expected to bring in as much as $45 million a year and add 250 jobs. This was not a brand new idea. It had been on the drawing board for 10 years, but park officials said the earthquake inspired them to give the project the green light. There was some apprehension about an investment this big leading up to 1994, but management figured if the park could succeed under great adversity, it could do even better in most other years. Indeed, despite its problems, 1994 was yet another record-breaking year for Magic Mountain. While Disneyland posted a 10% decline in attendance, Magic Mountain managed to increase its 1993 numbers by 6%, up to 3.5 million guests. The park also claimed a new world record, granting 15 million roller coaster rides in 1994, including running Cyclone backwards for the first time during Fright Fest. As the calendar turned to 1995, more details emerged about Hurricane Harbor. The price tag was set at $35 million. Kyle Stith was hired as manager of operations, taken from Six Flags Waterworld in Houston, Texas. The park would be themed to a storm-ravaged island, with a smoking volcano at the park's center. Time Warner had pumped $40 million into the park over the prior 3 years, but by April, rumors surfaced that the company may be trying to sell half its stake in Six Flags to help pay off some of its debt. The deal was struck quickly, as 51% was sold to Boston Ventures, an investment group, pulling in $200 million in cash and unloading $800 million in debt. Time Warner continued to operate the park with its 49% stake, allowing the park to keep its Looney Tunes and Batman attractions. In fact, the Batman stunt show was even updated in 1995 to coincide with the release of Batman Forever, where Batman and Robin save Gotham City from the Riddler's mind-stealing ray. Hurricane Harbor opened on June 16th, with balloon arches, Bugs Bunny, and a band, but a storm forced the park to close at 2 p.m. Despite quite literally raining on Hurricane Harbor's parade, it had a successful opening weekend. By the end of summer, Magic Mountain reported record summer attendance for the third straight year, up 7% from 1994. The hope to bring guests out for 2 days seemed to be working, as they drew more people from outside markets buying a ticket for Magic Mountain one day, and a ticket for Hurricane Harbor another day. There were some concerns that people would not want to come out to dusty old Santa Clarita as a multi-day tourist destination, but that appears to be exactly what happened, as nearby hotels enjoyed 98% capacity during the summer. Magic Mountain was hoping to capitalize on their biggest expansion ever, with a roller coaster unlike anything that had ever been built. In the first week of 1996, the park announced Superman the Escape, the world's first 100-mile-per-hour coaster, set to open in the spring, and using the land formerly occupied by the recently departed Eagles flight. The ride would make use of electromagnetic catapults to achieve the mark, technology never used before on a coaster. After reaching the 100-mile-per-hour mark, it would climb a 415-foot tower before returning to the station. Paul Rubin, North American editor of Park World magazine, said, "The roller coaster arms race has been inching skyward, but this is a quantum leap over anything else that's out there. The linear induction motors used on the ride are the same as the Navy was studying to launch jets off aircraft carriers. At the peak of the tower, all the way back to the ground, riders would experience 6.5 weightless seconds. This would also be the first time the park would utilize the internet for a marketing campaign, setting up a website to follow the ride's construction, with updates twice a month." Park spokesperson Palmer Moody said, "The reason for going on the web is you're reaching millions of people. People go on the web to look for vacation sites, and specifically theme parks. I think the net offers all sorts of interesting opportunities to theme parks and guests. But the internet played an unintended role in Superman's construction, and that was gossip. Superman's original June 1st launch date was scrapped, and this was due to a delay in receiving a part, putting their testing behind schedule. The park was hoping for a mid-June opening, but by mid-June, the ride was only reaching speeds of 50 to 70 miles per hour. The media was already touting the ride as a headache for the park. By the end of July, Superman was hitting speeds of 89 miles per hour, and the park no longer wanted to give a projected opening date. They chalked up the delay to the ride being a prototype, and asked for patience. But the message boards online were buzzing with speculation, including the speed being too much for the ride vehicles, with parts starting to burn, or that the park could only get 60 miles per hour because there was a problem with the drive, or even that launching it at full speed would snap off the top of the tower. Others were more critical, saying the park should have anticipated delays and gotten started earlier, calling it Superman the mistake. By the end of September, the park was waiting for more parts to arrive. By the end of November, the park invited season pass holders to ride Superman, still not hitting the 100-mile-per-hour mark, but maxing out at 90 to 95 miles per hour. It was the end of a disappointing year that included the tragedy of another park employee being killed on the job, when a ride operator on Revolution slipped in front of a moving train in the station. The one bright spot was the opening of Dive Devil, the park's sky coaster, an upcharge attraction that simulated bungee jumping. The park managed to match its 1995 attendance and was looking forward to a better year in 1997. Their first move was to expand Hurricane Harbor, doubling its number of slides from its opening year 2 years prior, the highlight being Black Snake Summit, a 75-foot tower with 5 slides branching off, including the near-vertical Venom Drop. On February 27th, Magic Mountain got final approval from county safety officials to open Superman, finally hitting that elusive 100-mile-per-hour mark. Riders walk into Superman's Fortress of Solitude, into a dark and narrow corridor, before arriving in the station, boarding the 14-person car before being blasted out, taking 7 seconds to reach that top speed, the speed that had been the reason the ride was delayed by 9.5 months. In the face of an industry-wide attendance slump, Magic Mountain boasted what they called solid numbers. Experts figured the numbers were bound to level off after several straight years of big additions, including Disneyland's Indiana Jones and Universal's Jurassic Park the Ride. But the Southern California theme park market was about to get much more competitive, as the family-owned Knott's Berry Farm was sold to Six Flags' main competitor, Cedar Fair. And a new 325-foot drop tower was set to debut in 1998, with a massive new wooden coaster to follow. Magic Mountain was not about to be left on the sidelines.
Was that over the top? I can never tell.
During the first week of the year, the park unveiled the Riddler's Revenge, a 156-foot tall, 65 miles per hour, 6-inversion stand-up coaster. This was the grown-up version of Shockwave, as the PR manager put it, which departed the park almost a decade earlier. It would be a custom-designed model with over 4,000 feet of track, with its layout wrapping around and over freefall. While Riddler's track was going vertical, Time Warner decided to vacate the theme park industry to focus on its core entertainment media assets. It made a deal, along with its investment partner, Boston Ventures, to sell the Six Flags chain and its 12 parks to Premier Parks Incorporated for $1.9 billion. Premier would also gain exclusive theme park rights to the Looney Tunes characters as well as DC Comics, preventing a major retheming effort at Magic Mountain, as well as throughout the chain. Despite the El Nino event dumping rain on California throughout the winter of 1998, Riddler's Revenge was able to open on time, giving the media their preview on April 1st and opening to the public on April 4th, just in time for spring break. Magic Mountain posted a 10% attendance increase over spring break 1997. For the kids, the International Acrobatic Circus would make its US debut, and Looney Tunes Nights would bring a parade and a fireworks show. But it was far from a party in '98. A shooting in the parking lot left one minor dead in April. 11 people were arrested for fighting inside the park, with some reports of shots fired inside the park. The conversation about the park's security and image was rekindled, with nicknames flying around, like Six Stabs Magic Mountain, as well as Tragic Mountain. And by October, the park announced that it would be installing metal detectors. This was a measure rejected by the park 4 years earlier, but recent events, combined with Premier Park's use of metal detectors at some of its parks, finally pushed Magic Mountain to do it, becoming the first Southern California park to employ them full-time. By the end of the year, despite the success of Riddler's Revenge, Magic Mountain posted a 9% drop in attendance, mainly due to El Nino washing out the early parts of the year. Magic Mountain's big plans for 1999 revolved around Bugs Bunny World, expanding the area with 16 new rides and attractions, including a brand new E&F Miler Kids coaster, Canyon Blaster. This was enough for the park to boost its attendance from 1998 by 4%, drawing in families interested in taking their kids to the new and improved Bugs Bunny World, and having good weather in contrast to 1998's El Nino washout. The future of the park looked bright. Premier Parks indicated that they wanted to invest a lot of money into Magic Mountain, seeing even more potential in the park, and this was boosted by the news that New Holland and Farming, the original builders of the park, was planning a 400-acre addition around the park. This would turn Magic Mountain into a true resort, with a retail and entertainment complex along with hotels. The project was slated to be 4 times the size of the park itself, and put Magic Mountain on the tourist level of Disney and Universal, considering Disney was building California Adventure and Downtown Disney to be opened in 2001, and Universal's already successful City Walk. In late 1998, rumors started surfacing about a new coaster for the park, and not just any coaster, a true record breaker. In April of 1999, blue steel beams and orange ribbons of track started appearing in the park's backlot. All the park had to say was, "It's just stuff that's getting here early for the year 2000. What was the park so tight-lipped about? 10 years after debuting the monstrous Viper, and after a decade of peppering the park with 7 major coasters, Magic Mountain was about to outdo themselves once again with yet another record breaker. A giant among coasters. Thanks for watching episode 3 of this 5-part documentary. If you could drop a like and share this video with anyone who may be interested, I would really appreciate it. This is far and away my biggest project on this channel, and I appreciate the support. Stay tuned next week for episode 4, as Magic Mountain is transformed into the Extreme Park, and Six Flags' financial problems finally reach their tipping point.